I would like to share a little something about my boss. Now, my boss, I had the honor and the privilege of having such a great boss. I was fortunate to have him as one of my favorite bosses to come into my life. He was tall, very tall. He was 6'6". In his early 40s, he was so sweet, so gentle, like a big cuddly teddy bear. He wasn't fat. He wasn't chubs. I mean, I wouldn't even say he was thick. Beefy, maybe? Yeah, beefy, because he worked out. Yeah, beefy. Beefy is fair. He had dark black hair and these piercing blue eyes that just gave you the bits. But he was, just a saint. One of my favorite things about him, and the reason I come share him today was because he was humble. Write that down. Humble at the top of your notebook. Modeling humility is our topic of discussion today. Write that down in your notepad. Modeling humility. Modeling humility is a crucial aspect of effective leadership, especially in the context of servant leadership. Right now, we're going through a little weekly study of leading with the servant's heart. And we pull apart different aspects of servant leadership and what servant leadership looks like. So, if this is something that really melts your butter, we invite you to join us here weekly. We'll be discussing these concepts and uploading them to our YouTube channel. So, make sure to like and subscribe and invite and share this audio with your colleagues and maybe even your leaders who could use this kind of information. You don't have to be in leadership to be a leader. Robin Sharma has a really good book called The Leader Who Had No Title. And I encourage you to read that one because that one really, really helped me. Anywho, back to my boss. He was such a light, he was quiet, but when he walked in, he lit up the room. We stopped what we were doing just to acknowledge him and greet him. He would come into my department where I was working and he would playfully bow and say, Your Majesty to me. And I would playfully nod my head and bow and say, My Lord. And it was just a fun connection that we built with each other, a friendship, really. He was so humble. A Course in Miracles teaches us humility and arrogance are what keeps God's children from their perfection. The Course teaches that true humility comes from recognizing the equality of all individuals and letting go of all judgments. Arrogance, however, is often associated with the ego. The ego is seen as a false sense of self that thrives on separation. The ego wants to say, I'm over here, you're over there. The ego thrives on judgment, and the ego thrives on the illusion of superiority. The Course suggests that arrogance and the desire for specialness leads to conflict, and they reinforce the belief in individuality and separation. Now, I'm all down for the idea of being special. We teach our children, you are special, you're the only one like you. There isn't another in the whole wide world who can do the things you do, 'cause you are special, special. Okay, enough singing, just check. Um, what was I saying? Oh, I'm all down for the idea of being special and being an individual. But I think we can all agree that true strength lies in unity. True strength lies in interconnectedness. My boss modeled humility. You don't always have to be humble. You don't always have to be arrogant. You can be a healthy balance of the 2. He was such a wonderful boss. He really valued our contributions. Write that down, actually, as a bullet point. Value others' contributions. He really did. He would always pull us together as a team and he would tell us, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help your departments get better. How can we make that work? That's another good bullet point, too. Write that down. Seek feedback. Humble leaders actively seek feedback from their team members. They understand that they don't have all the answers and value the perspectives and the insights of others. He was always praising us for achieving our goals, and he was always helping us meet those goals. He once shared a quote by Indira Gandhi that has stuck with me till this day. It says, "There are two types of people, those who work and those who take the credit. Try to be in the first group. There is less competition there." Leaders who model humility recognize and appreciate the contributions of their team members. They don't seek all the credit for success, but rather share the recognition with those who played a role in achieving the goals. He gave credit where credit was due, basically. Write that down. Share credit and success. This builds a sense of unity and camaraderie among team members, which to him, the team came first. Oh, there's another bullet point there for you guys. Put the team's needs first. Write that down. Leaders who model humility prioritize the needs of their team over their own. They're willing to take a step back and let others take the spotlight when it benefits them. This attitude of selflessness in leadership contributes to building a collaborative and supportive work environment. We were all working together. We were all supporting each other as a team. Each one of us had our own important job to do. We were like cogs on a wheel, working together in unity because our fearless leader put us first with empathy. Oh, there's another one. Lead with empathy. Write that down. Sometimes we don't always understand our team members when it comes to their belief systems or the way they were raised, but I feel it is very important to at least be empathetic to listening so we can grow and learn from them. I remember one time, oh, I was going through it, okay? I was having a day. And I don't have days. I have moments. But this day, ooh, honey, my energy was depleted, okay? So I walked into his office and I just took a deep breath so I wouldn't cry. And very genuinely, he asked, Jack, what's wrong? Is there something I can do to help? And I replied with, can I hold your hands? And without skipping a beat, he said, sure. And he gave me his hands. And what I did was I did a hand hug. My right hand grabbed his right hand, so our palms were touching, and then my left hand grabbed his left hand. So we were making kind of an X or an infinity sign with our hands between our bodies. I told him to take 3 deep breaths. And we did together, and just like that, I was good as new. He didn't know what we were doing, but I was using the psychokinetic energy from our palms to transfer energy back and forth to each other, kind of like a sharing of energy. And you guys can do this when you are feeling depleted or if you are having anxiety. It's called a hand hug. And just like the infinity sign, it allows us to have infinite energy together. You know that verse that says, when two or more are gathered, I am in the midst? It's that same kind of concept. Just two friends helping each other out. But he didn't know what the heck we were doing. But afterwards, I said, thank you. And I explained, what we were doing. And he was just fascinated by it, as the muggles usually are. He was fascinated that I understood about the sharing of energy. After I left, of course, word travels fast, especially around the company we worked for with this boss. Word travels fast. And the next thing you know, a colleague of mine came to my department, and her job was to make sure everything was flowing steadily throughout the company and to make sure everyone was doing their job. And she came to me and she said, I'm so jealous that you gave the boss a palm reading. I laughed and I said, I did nothing of the sort. But do you want a palm reading? I asked her. She said, yeah. And she put out her hand, palms up. So I looked at her palm and I followed the lines on her palm with my finger and I said things like, ooh, oh, mm, mm, mm. And I looked at her very sad into her eyes and I closed her palm and I put her hand down and said, I'm so sorry. She said, what? What is it? What do you see? I said, nothing. I can't read palms. And we laughed and we laughed and we laughed. And I said, but I do read the tarot. I can give you a tarot reading anytime, girl. But I told her, you know what would really be more fun is if we did a table tipping. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, we practice different modalities of mediumship. And table tipping is, once again, using the psychokinetic energy from the palms, and the table actually starts moving, allowing you to communicate with the other side. It's wonderful. It's always a fun experience. You guys should try it sometime. So we did that. Table tipping. Can you believe it? We did that. We did a table tipping in my boss's office with the boss and the CEO of the entire organization in corporate America on company time. Oh my God. Times have changed, honey. Times have changed. But honestly, back to what I was saying, humility is closely tied to empathy. And leaders who model humility demonstrate a genuine understanding and concern for their team. They connect with their team on a personal level, fostering trust and loyalty. It really does. Because, oh, my phone is ringing. Uh-oh. It really does because, you know, um, I went in there and I just needed my boss. I just needed his hands. He didn't know what I was doing, but he was genuinely concerned for my well being. And he connected with me on a personal level, which within me built trust with him. Even though he went and told everybody I gave him a palm reading. Hey, it struck up business. Don't even get me started with what happened after that. Oh, I started reading tarot at this place. Well, actually, I will tell you because it's the truth. I uh, I did one tarot reading. It all started with just one. I did one tarot reading. That person told someone else. That person told someone else, and one by one they started coming in, asking me for a reading, and one by one I would give it to them on company property. And then one day, a manager walked in. He wasn't my manager, but a manager nonetheless. And he saw what I was doing, and the look on his face, he didn't know whether to scratch his watch or blind his butt. Next thing you know, my boss comes in. So I finished up the tarot reading, and he asked me, my boss asked me, what are you doing? I said, I'm on lunch. Because I was on lunch. And I would do these readings on my lunchtime, by the way. So he said, but what are you doing? And I said, a tarot reading. He said, on the premises of the company? And I said sarcastically with a smile on my face, are we not allowed to perform religious practices on the company property? Or does that rule only apply to witches? And he smiled at me and he laughed and he said, that's right. And if anybody else asks you, Jack, you give them that same response you just gave me. It was cute. We built up a friendship and he knew I knew. And he knew that I knew that I knew. And so then he said, he was walking away. He turned around. He said, are you going to give me, are you going to have your lunch? Or you have time to pull a few of those cards for me? And so I told him, sit down, shuffle the cards. Oh, that was such a great reading. So if you guys listening right now, if you guys ever want a tarot reading, just message me and we can set up a time to come and see what the cards tell us. I do them over the phone these days or over the internet or on Zoom. Anywho, what were we saying before I went off on a tangent? Oh, yes, modeling humility. Another bullet point when it comes to modeling humility is respecting diverse perspectives. Write that down. Respect diverse perspectives. I remember this one time, this one boss came in and to my department, and she wasn't my boss, but she was a boss. Her and my boss were equals. They answered to the same officer in command, if you will. And I liked her. Don't get me wrong, I really liked her. She too would also call me Your Majesty. She would walk in, she'd say, "Hey, Your Majesty." I would say, "Hello, Your Grace." I really liked her. I called her Your Majesty. I respected her a lot. And she came in one day and she said, "Hey, Your Majesty, um, going forward, um, we're going to be doing this and this way." And I said, "What? Why? Why are we doing this and this way? No, no, that don't make no sense. That doesn't make kind of that don't make no kind of sense to serve the customer." And she was a little taken aback, and she was like, "Well, we're here to run a business," she said very matter of factly. I said, "The business's one job is to serve the customers." She said, "The business's job is to make money, Jack." And I knew I had to step off. And so I was like, "By serving the customers, Your Majesty. It will be done the most perfect way." So I finished up my daily tasks and my assignments, and I went to my boss. And I told him, I said, "She wants to do this and this way, but something is lacking there. It doesn't serve the customers, it only serves the business." So I told him, "It is my belief that if we do this and this that way we're serving the customers and the business." So he said, "Oh, that's really good. Let me talk to her and I'll get back to you." So I left his office, and who do you think was in the office right next door? Listening to the whole conversation. Homegirl, her Grace. Oh my God. So I said, "Oh, come with me. Let's go talk to my boss. I have an idea." Oh, she got so mad. Well, she took it really personal, and she was very upset, and she barked at me. She's like, "I cannot believe you went over my head." I did not go over anyone's head, number one. But we're not going to get into that because the whole point of me sharing this story with you is I knew she was only answering to her boss at the time. And I also knew that I knew what she was mad about. She was mad because in her heart of hearts, she knew that that was not the answer. But because so and so higher up said it, she had to do it, and that way she had to do it that way, and she had no other option but to listen and do as she was told. I knew she took it personal, and the only reason she barked at me was because she was upset. Kind of like in The Princess and the Frog, when Princess Tiana barked at Ray about Evangeline, saying, "She's just a star, Ray, and wishes don't come true." But Ray didn't take her barking personal. What did he say? He said, "She don't mean that. She's just speaking out of a broken heart, that's all." So when she barked, I knew she was only speaking out of a broken heart. When she barked, I took a deep breath and I calmly told her, "We must always strive for the service of the customers, Your Majesty, and the business, which is why I suggested that we do this and this that way. You see, this is nothing against you. This is not a personal attack, Your Grace." And guess what? She listened to me. Humility. That involves recognizing that others may have valuable insights. That involves recognizing that others may have different perspectives. Leaders who model humility actively seek out diverse viewpoints and consider them in decision making processes. She wasn't upset with me. She was upset in general. It had nothing to do with me. And I knew she was upset. I saw it. She had that spirit of defeat. Like she wanted to do what was best for the customers, but she just didn't know how. She had that spirit of sorrow, honey. She was in sorrow's kitchen and licking the pot clean, okay? But but then what did she do? She stopped. She realized she had made a mistake. She gave me a big old hug and she said 5 words that we all can benefit from. And it would behoove us to write them down. She hugged me and said, I'm sorry. I was wrong. A humble leader is not afraid to admit when they make a mistake. Write that down. Admit mistakes. Acknowledging errors fosters a culture of transparency and authenticity, making it easier for team members to admit their own mistakes and learn from them. I really believe an openness to learning continues improvement. It really does. You know, no one has all the answers. There's always room for growth and development. I think having an openness to learning attitude creates a culture of curiosity and innovation within the team. When leaders cultivate a learning culture within their organization, actually, ooh, that's a good one. Write that down. What did I just say? Oh, shoot, I forgot it already. Oh, oh, have an openness to learn and cultivate a learning culture within your organization. A learning culture encourages a mindset where everyone, regardless of their position, is seen as a learner. Even if you're a boss, you can still learn. This creates an environment where people feel safe to take risks and learn from their experiences. I knew I was safe to take risks to do new things. I knew. I would always go to my boss's office and I would say, hey, I have this idea. Do you think it'll work? And he would look at me and I would see the wheels in his head turning, like trying to find a problem. And he'd say, I don't see why it wouldn't. Try it out. Let me know. He'd always tell me, try it out. Let me know. That's another bullet point. He was approachable and he was accessible. Write that down. When you're approachable and accessible, team members feel comfortable not only sharing ideas, but also expressing concerns. There were a few times I went to his office. I would always march into his office because he was my boss. I didn't have a supervisor. I didn't have a manager. I answered to him. He was my boss. So I went to him and I told him my problems. I gave him my solutions. We would work on solutions together. We would tweak solutions together, and the problem was fixed. I say all this to tell you this. By incorporating these behaviors into their leadership style, individuals can effectively model humility, creating a positive and inclusive work environment that supports the principles of servant leadership. Humble leaders inspire trust, loyalty, and collaboration, ultimately contributing to the success and well being of their teams. All right, now this is the part where we get out our journals. Every week we give a new journal entry. And today's journal entry question is, how have you demonstrated humility in your leadership lately? And in what situations could you have shown more humility or openness to others' perspectives? I bless you and leave you with this. We bless you and leave you with this. My name is justjack.com. We welcome you to subscribe to our newsletter at justjack.com with 2 S's because one just ain't enough. We also encourage you to buy your peace bracelets so we can keep promoting peace in this world. They're on our website, and order your Just Jack chat. And if you are a leader and you're interested in more private classes, please reach out to me. We meet once a month, sometimes more, but we welcome you. You're always invited. You are always invited. There are no coincidences. You are meant to be here, and we uh, bid you adieu. Until next week, bye, Felicia.